Well, this last weekend, it was one of those rare weekends where the weather was absolutely phenomenal. There wasn't hardly a whisper of wind in the gorge, which is pretty unusual to fly both directions through the gorge and not encounter any wind. So me and my dad took off and we headed for his 370 acres in Monument, Oregon. But we stopped along the way on the John Day River in one of my favorite places named Pulaski. Most people would never know where this spot is, but if you've ever flown the John Day River above Chucker Flats, you may have flown over it. I've been coming here for probably close to 15 years. It's actually been longer than 15 years because I was coming here when I had my M5 mall, and I haven't had it since 2004. Monument, Oregon is 150 miles from Troutdale and about an hour and a half by airplane. The reason I mentioned Troutdale is that's where I picked my dad up. He lives in Troutdale, Oregon. From the John Day River, we flew directly to his property. It's just a little out of town, maybe 10 miles from the town of Monument. He doesn't really have a runway, but he's got a nice steep slope that's about 800 feet long, and it works quite well. I think this is my third or fourth time over to his property, and each time I come here, I've taken some little hikes around the property. I've really only seen the small back portion of the property. Most of the property extends to the west of the cabin. The acreage I have explored has been uphill behind the cabin, and most of the acreage is downhill in front of the cabin. So I look forward to exploring some more here and spending time with my dad. This is the main bedroom, the great room. The kitchen's going to be over on this side here, in this area. I believe a bathroom and a closet in here. It's going to be vaulted. It'll have a wood stove. It'll also have gas heat. He plans on doing solar for the power. That's the loft up above. And I'm landing this steep slope, which is about probably 20 degrees or more, 25 degrees. So tell me about this lifelong dream of owning property.
Always wanted a place that I could go and spend some time, especially after I retired. But most of what I looked at was sagebrush, and I finally found this place a year and a half ago and bought it a little over a year ago. So we've started on the cabin. It's 768 square feet with a loft, so almost 1,000 square feet of living space. But it's going to take, with some help, maybe I get it done by the end of summer. But it's just a dream to be able to come over and see the view that's spectacular from this spot, and wake up in the morning and see deer out in front of the cabin, run my ATVs around. The property borders BLM, so I have all kinds of additional acreage and miles I can run and play on, and my hope is that it'll keep me young.
Any words of wisdom in your 80 years?
Keep moving.
Okay, we'll go with that. We spent the evening roasting hot dogs over some nice cedar firewood that was left over from doing the siding that we had done previously when I was over. It was a spectacularly clear night, and I set up my GoPro to try to get a time lapse of the stars and for some reason it just didn't work out.
Well, I was going to go flying this morning, bright and early, but as you can see, there's a serious amount of frost on the airplane. So, I'm going to have to wait until the sun gets out here and melts it off. Should have brought my wing covers. If I would have brought my wing covers, I'd be flying.
I spent at least an hour walking around the property, exploring. Saw 4 deer, heard some coyotes howling, and I howled back, and they howled back at me. And then I decided to set up my drone and see if I could get some footage of the deer, but it was just too cold out.
Battery's too cold. It's only probably 25 degrees out, and the battery was out pretty much sitting in my airplane all night long, so now it's not warm enough. And I did run this battery for about 5 minutes yesterday. See if I can warm it up. First time I've experienced this limitation. It's like nature art. What's left of a burnout juniper tree. Pretty cool. I don't know if it was struck by lightning. Kind of looks like that's what happened to it. But it's just like completely hollowed out and then curved over with time. It was a pretty big tree at one time. It's amazing it's still standing, somewhat. These are the kind of things that I like to see in nature. Well, not necessarily burned out trees, but just interesting things that you don't normally see in your everyday life. Well, it still looks like it's going to be a while until the sun's hitting my airplane.
I managed to get the battery for the drone warm enough inside my shirt to actually get a little bit of footage of the cabin before it ran dead. I've always loved time-lapse photography ever since I was a kid, and now with GoPro cameras it makes it so easy to do. I guess it's almost like I'm a GoPro advertisement, but it's pretty spectacular what you can do with them now. If you enjoyed what you watched here, please subscribe and hit the like button.